Former homeless people of Reddit. What can we do to help homeless people the most? I literally move into my new apartment tomorrow, so I'm freshly not homeless. And here's my input. Feminine hygiene products are huge. Tampons and pads are expensive, and when it comes between eating and bleeding on yourself, it's a really hard choice. Wet wipes. When you don't have access to a shower, feeling clean makes a ton of difference in how your day goes. Shelf-stable food. Obvious. Peanut butter and a loaf of bread were a godsend to me. Gift cards to laundromats. It gives you a chance to get clean clothes and a cool or warm place to hang out. A lot of places have free Wi-Fi, too. Umbrellas. Again, obvious. Water. I was almost constantly dehydrated. With COVID, places weren't giving free water. At least around here. Being homeless is so isolating. It feels a lot like the world just doesn't give a shit about you and you don't know where you fit. People that talk to me, made eye contact, they made a difference. Hope this helps. Edit. Thanks for the awards. Lots of people are asking how they can help. Check out your local shelters and homelessness crisis support. They'll be sure to point you in the right direction. You guys are good eggs. Less than 3. Every situation and circumstance is different, and the needs of an individual vary greatly. I was always very appreciative of work trades, often doing landscaping, basic maintenance, farm work for food. Quick to establish a relationship if you have a good work ethic. And people often wind up tossing in some cash. For a lot of people, food and hygiene products are greatly appreciated. End of the day though, the number one thing I appreciated was just not being bothered by people while sleeping, sitting, resting, getting kicked awake, displaced by cops, never being able to lie down, etc. takes a toll on your body, and the lack of sleep destroys your mental health. Speaking as a BF to a wonderful woman who was formerly homeless, don't give up on them. This should apply to people in general, but especially to those who are down on their luck. It's taken some time and some hoop jumping, but she has her own place now. It's stable housing with stable finances. She's still learning and doing her best. I'm really proud of how far she's come. Takeout food. I used to hold door open at restaurants for people and ask them for any leftovers. Many did, and many bought me entire meals. But management often kicked me off before they could give it to me. Gel and soles. It sucks wearing shoes 18 hours a day and walking eternities. You can get shoes for free, but not insoles. There's no one answer to this. I was homeless in the late 90s as a teen runaway. I met a lot of homeless people. Some are there by choice and some circumstance. Many of the kids I knew were running away from abusive homes. Some just wanted to party and do drugs. Some of the older homeless were homeless by choice. They didn't want a job in a home, etc. They wanted to be free. Many had drug problems. Many were mentally ill. This was all before a whole new homeless crisis began, when former middle class were pushed out by rising rents and stagnant wages after the recession. Everyone has different needs. I've helped a homeless lady find her family after 30 years. She had no idea how easy it is now. Just ask if they need anything. They'll tell you, smiley face. From threads similar to this in the past, I remember hearing that getting them things like socks, deodorant, underwear, etc. goes a long way. I have no idea if that would be offensive if you handed a bag of these things to a random homeless person though. I have a trailer on my land where I have a 22-year-old homeless kid at the moment. I only have my vegetable garden on that land, so it's convenient. It's a very basic and cheap trailer. If I'd had more money, I'd build a tiny house to give them some more dignity. But the land is fenced in so they can live on it with their dog. A lot have trouble finding a job or getting their shit together because they have an animal, a castaway, like them, that stops them from going to refuges or joining programs or even having a job. He helps me in the garden. If there's too much, he can sell it on the market and buy some clothes and stuff. It gives him freedom. He's learning mechanics now. Not a bad kid, just never had real opportunities in his life and rebelled against the entire society. First and foremost, treat them with dignity. I was homeless last with my partner, and the thing that killed our spirit was people being unnecessarily rude. If I am in that situation, you can bet that I'm doing my best to get out of it as soon as yesterday. Because it's really not nice begging for food, being cold, and walking for what feels like eternities looking for literally any kind of employment opportunity while trying to look decent and trying to be positive. If you can't or do not want to help, you don't need to make snide remarks, because homeless people are still people. I worked with the mentally ill homeless population. Two things that are important: and ID and bus train tickets. Services are all over the city and all federal assistance needs identification. This is a few dollars, but getting the paperwork can be a nightmare. I worked with people who were impacted by Hurricane Katrina and their birth records were lost due to water damage. Fucking sucks. I was homeless due to addiction problems several years ago. Looking back, what ultimately helped me was the criminal justice system that court-ordered me to attend drug treatment. There was also a lovely nonprofit that provided cheap housing for after I got clean. These nonprofits usually take donations for furniture and whatnot, and you can get a tax write-off. If you're more looking to help a homeless stranger, I would say socks and food were the items I truly needed most. My feet were wet 24 hours a day if it was wet outside. If you're trying to help someone you know, meet them where they're at. If there is an underlying issue that can be treated, like mental health or addiction, try to be there for them when they're ready to get help. Was formerly homeless, now homeless again. Do you mean, what can an individual person do? Or what can the rest of society do? On a society-wide level, there's a lot that could be changed. Better community resources and safety nets. More transitional housing programs extended to more people. Removing barriers to employment, care, ECT for those without addresses. ECT. On an individual level, the most important thing you can do for me is have compassion and treat me like a human being. Listen to us, advocate for us, and help in more tangible ways when you're able. With food, supplies, ECT, you can make an incredible difference in people's lives. Just a little compassion, a little effort, or a little helping hand. IDK if this belong here, but my cousin lives in Chicago and is a musician and bartender. She didn't have much, but a while ago she used to go to Sam's Club, or whatever their equivalent is, to get the rotisserie chickens at the end of every Sunday. She would bring them to one of the nearby homeless villages and feed them, and play music for them and read to them. According to her, they seemed to enjoy the company. A way to learn to drive without spending thousands of dollars. Improve public transportation. Improve access to real treatment for mental health issues including addiction. Realize that a majority of people are just one bad thing away from homelessness. And it is often a cycle of getting set up with a job and place to live only to have it ripped away. Over and over. Nothing really unless you meet them one-on-one. Even then 90% will betray, disappoint you. But not everyone. I was homeless twice. As a child due to my parents' love for drugs and alcohol and abuse. Second, when I was older and had a heart attack and took it as a sign and sold my shit and went out into the wild for just shy of 2 years. When I was older, being able to prove I was drug-free was a huge help for me. Sadly, a lot of people in the streets are there because they will not fit in. Such is life, sadly. Improve access to mental health disability benefits. I was homeless for about 6 months after leaving the military. Happens way more than it should. First off, I don't condone theft. That being said, if you see them taking food from a store, look the other way. A lot of that food will go to waste. I wouldn't stop them mid-theft either to offer to pay. When I was in this situation, I was extremely on guard and would become aggressive if confronted. A lot of the time if I was stealing I hadn't eaten in few days. Now if you see one sleeping and they aren't in the way of the general public, leave them be. Sleep is rare and when you can get it you take it. Now I can't talk for those that have mental disorders and can't control themselves. But those of us that know where we are and that we don't want to be there will take almost any offer you have for us. In my experience, being homeless is as close as you can get to being on deployment you can get in the States. It's exhausting, debilitating, and you are constantly straining to pull yourself back into a society that refuses to acknowledge you, and the genuine help you get is almost non-existent. I was homeless for a week when I was 18. In my case, I just didn't have options. So if anything went wrong, I was screwed. Fortunately, I knew it would go wrong eventually, so I was able to make plans to get out of it quickly. But it was months of a lot of stress. There needs to be more housing options. When it comes down to it, people just need a safe place to store items, sleep, go to the bathroom, shower, and a place to eat. Sometimes, people just need to escape controlling situations with little cash on hand. Sometimes people just need a chance to save up money to get ahead. So there needs to be a range of options so that people can have more opportunities for their futures. Paying a lot in rent with no other options to save is a huge barrier for people with little means. I would love to see a variety of housing styles ranging from similar to military barracks, a bed, some lockable storage, communal bathrooms and eating areas, to bunkhouse options, a small room that you can lock with a bed and desk, communal other essentials that offer a bit more privacy, but still cost-effective, make it easier to find long-term housing. Right now, I need to move, and even though I have references and have never missed a rent payment, I can't find another place because my credit is shit. So, I'm going to end up in the cycle again. How do you build up your credit when you're homeless? You can't. It's much harder to find and keep work for hygiene reasons. The entire system we have right now is almost impossible to claw back up from. It's disheartening. I worked with homeless folks for a few years. Here's a couple of things. You have to be able to not take things personally. You don't understand their lives. And that's okay. They're going to do things that are irrational and hurtful. It's not you. They have done the same to others. You're not the Messiah. They're probably not one mentor or one 8-step process from salvation. Reasons for homelessness can be fairly complex. Drugs, mental illness, lack of education, and sociology. Economic disparities are not mutually exclusive categories. On the other hand, sometimes, there really is one main cause. For example, I used to work with a former pro boxer who had a successful ex-wife and 2 successful kids. But he was homeless because of an addiction to cocaine. A lot of them are abused by other homeless people or by businesses using them as virtual slaves. I knew a woman who would do several hours worth of work at a convenience store for $5. Think about the mood you're in when you've had a hard day. Every day for them just about is a hard day. They live a tough life. It affects their outlook. You will be lied to. Get over it. See number 1. Yes, a lot of them chose the life in one way or another. Not all, but a lot. If you want to help, you have to get over the fact that for some of them, it's their fault. If you can't get over that, then don't take up the space of someone who can. If you don't want to give someone money because they'll use it on booze or drugs, that's your call. But don't act like you've got some revolutionary insight into the problem because you noticed a lot of homeless folks have substance abuse problems. The above now stated, anything helps. If you're in an urban area, keep the local bus ticket on hand. That could help someone make an appointment that they otherwise wouldn't. Socks, gel and soles, and general hygiene items are usually welcome. A coat or warm shirt in the winter is good too. You may not be the kind of person who can walk a homeless man or woman out of that life. But no one can do it in the future if that man or woman starves to death tonight. Learn their names. They sometimes don't have people who know their names. Be sure you do. I am not homeless, but I work on a major city and meet people on my way to work. Having chatted as often as I could, whilst having to get to work, with a few homeless people with dogs, I have learned that poo bags are really useful for them to be able to clean up after the dog. In my experience, the owners considered the dog's needs and welfare above their own. My wife took in 2 homeless people living in a pickup truck about 7 years ago. Both of them, a married couple, are kind of at the end of their lives, even though they are only in their 50s, rendered homeless because of health reasons. The husband works odd jobs for cash for the U.S. highway system, usually removing debris, and the wife works as an assistant manager overnight at a gas station. They help around at the house, like mowing and such, and when my wife's previous husband passed away, they helped her get through that. It's the main reason we haven't sold her old house. Because seriously, there is nowhere for these people to go. They have no family, and no real future. My previous assistant came down with some serious health problems as well, and has trouble keeping a job because of them. Right now, she's living in my house, with my wife and I, helping with a lot of errands while she works on her certification and degree to get a better job. Without us, she'd be homeless as well. Both my wife and I just grew sick of the homeless situation. Most people are homeless because they don't have health, can't afford the care, and it becomes a huge cycle. I, myself, was homeless for the good part of a year in the 1980s. And I would not have made it had it not been for the kindness of others with a spare room. You have to break the cycle. Once someone becomes poor, it is so hard to break out of it. Most don't make it, which is why there is such a huge problem with homeless in America. You're a third-class citizen, treated like a bum, lower than dirt, and called lazy, and being homeless is the punishment you deserve. You need an address to get a bank account. You need a bank account to get paid by a job. You need a job in a bank account to get a cell phone or driver's license. My first marriage, we took in 5 people, and 4 of them went on to move elsewhere and have the best lives they could. One of them owns her own home now. Another got married and raised a kid. Another got married and lives in a nice condo now. They just needed someone to take them in and give them a chance. And yeah, sometimes you can't help them. Either a substance addiction, mental health problems you can't spend 24/7 with them to fix. Too sick to work. And some people are so far gone it would take a miracle and complete deprogramming for their entire childhood to repair. But not everyone is like that. You can make a difference. They did for me.